Okay. So welcome again, everyone, and thanks for joining us. I really hope that you all had a really lovely summer. I know it's like always kind of fun to come back to a new school year. I hope you're feeling optimistic and you had a nice long break to refresh before the school year starts. I'm Erin Price. I'm the new program manager at Food Recovery Network, if we haven't had the opportunity to connect yet. And I'm also joined today by our executive director, Regina Anderson, and our new program associate, Elaine Loskamp, is also on the call. So everybody can just give a little wave. I know that, one of the biggest things that we've been looking forward to since the summertime is just convening all of our chapter leaders for these calls. We're going to be hosting actually a series of chapter leader calls this year in an effort to continue to support you with your leadership development. And also, we are part of a bigger movement. And I think sometimes, we can lose sight of that if we don't take the time to connect with one another. So I hope that these calls offer, everyone here an opportunity to, learn from other chapter leaders, for you to share your ideas and your successes. And, we can all listen to one another. I'm sure we're facing some common challenges in the work that we're all trying to do. So this is just a nice space for us to gather and kind of hear what other people are going through and provide our support, maybe share some tips or advice if you have it. So for this first call, we've really structured the time to the bulk of the conversation will just be a discussion, and we'll put you all into little breakout rooms for different questions that we have, so you get the opportunity to connect with other chapter leaders and talk. And then we'll bring you back into the main room so that we can all hear some highlights of what you all discussed. But before we dive into the bulk of our discussion, I do want to go ahead and just turn it over to Regina to say a few words of welcome.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Erin. And everyone, if you haven't had a chance to talk with Erin, I highly recommend it. Erin has been with the Food Recovery Network team for going on 3 years now. And Erin started her time here as a fellow and then became a second-year fellow. And we were able to hire Erin on permanently to the team. It's just been incredible. And Elaine, will be a familiar name for many of you. So thank you, Elaine, for all that you've done to help prepare for this conversation. So Elaine actually was in leadership at her FRN chapter. So I just am just so thankful for everyone, being here, the different positions that you hold within your leadership at your FRN chapters all across the country. As Erin mentioned, we really are trying to build more of what we call a call and response, where we have conversations like this and all of you are able to talk with one another, because honestly, among all of you here, you've heard it all, right? With what's going really well with your chapters and why, how to recruit more volunteers, when you hear a no from dining services, or if you go out into your larger community and you hear no from restaurants or grocery stores, you know how to activate, you know how to problem solve. And we've found that, yes, of course, at national office, we hold all of those, ideas and resources, and we've all gone out and done recoveries ourselves. So we know firsthand as well, but truly, this movement is all about you and your abilities, your aptitude, your passion, and making sure that not only do all of you know about that from one another, and we can feel that from one another, but also that, my job as executive director is to take that warmth, that care, that compassion, that desire to ensure that the currently right now 42 million food insecure people have the food that they deserve, that we take that message and all of that feeling and all that ability and we tell other people. Because I am committed to telling people about all of you. I am firm in my belief that everyone here that is comprised of the FRN movement, we really are going to change the culture from wasting food unnecessarily to recovering that food and making sure it goes to people who need that food, because right now it's way too many people, and it's consistently been way too many people, and that we stop harming our environment when we throw away all this precious food. So these are things that we hear from all of you. We want to continue to hear from all of you, because I will say, in the 6 years that I've been here, FRN has been around for 10 years. This month is our 10-year birthday, so we're heading into our 10 years of activation. You know, what we're hearing from all of you, it has changed over the years, and we are able to drill down further to get to what it is that you need to keep your fingers on the pulse of doing the right thing with our surplus food, and doing the right thing for our communities that too often are left voiceless, or, you know, they do have a wonderful voice, but no one is really listening. So we are stewards of that. And I'm here to support all of you. I hope to get to know some of you directly. We were just talking not too long ago, yesterday, with the full FRN National team, you know, that we all have our students that we know directly. And I was thinking, like, you know, because of the pandemic, I haven't been able to go out as I would have normally, or even Erin, you know, and all of the students that I normally interact with to ask questions or be like, hey, do you have 5 minutes to talk about this? Everyone's an alum now. So I am personally looking forward to getting to know, you know, many of you personally, and, you know, having that sounding board, and of course with the student and alumni advisory board as well. But this, as Erin said, this time together, it's all about all of you, and I'm just very humbled and thankful to be able to, you know, sit in and participate. And it just, honestly, I can't thank you all enough for what you've been able to accomplish in whatever amount of time you've been here with FRN, and collectively across the 10 years. You know, 5.2 million pounds of food equals, you know, more than 5 million meals to people in need. And we can do this. We can change this culture and help ease the suffering of some people that we know, you know, all across the country, who deserve food. So thank you all so much for your passion and your abilities, and most of all, your leadership. Thanks, Erin.
Yeah, thank you so much, Regina. I feel like all of that is just so powerful, really resonates. And it's now making me feel like really jazzed about this year. I feel like we're already in like a better place to, you know, do food recovery or activate in like new ways with advocacy and community engagement. So I'm excited. That actually like brings me to my next slide. Just as like a quick opener to, you know, hear from all of you, I would just love to ask as like an icebreaker question, what's inspiring you right now? You know, it could be, I don't know, a song, a book, a show, a person, or an idea, anything you want, anything that you feel inspired by right now. You can either, you know, unmute yourself and speak to the group, or if you prefer, you can use the chat, whatever works best for you. But I'll give us some space to go ahead and chime in.
Hi, my name's Allison, and I'm the president of WKU's chapter of food recovery, which Elaine actually used to be the president of. So I'm glad to see her here today. Something that is inspiring me is I major in nutrition and dietetics, so I've always had a passion for fighting food waste, but also food insecurity. And what's inspiring me is the sense of community I've found in Bowling Green through food recovery, and how our organization is having such an impact with something that's, you know, so not easy to do, but small, and it has a large ripple effect. So that's always what's been inspiring me to continue on, especially during these times. So thank you all.
Thank you so much. That was so great to hear. Opening the floor to anyone else who'd care to share.
Hi, I am Carrie Geist, and I am from the Eastern Michigan University chapter of FRN. And one thing that is inspiring me a lot right now is just being able to be back on my university's campus, and to be able to kind of have that sense of community again, and to be able to see everyone on campus is being passionate about what they're passionate about, and me being able to kind of come back to my initial passion of being able to help others. And one of those ways is by taking food that already does exist and being able to transport it for other people to be able to enjoy for their own health and wellness.
No, that's so great, Carrie. Thanks for sharing. I know it's kind of funny how I think surrounding yourself with people again, like even being in a different environment, can bring totally new energy to the situation. So I certainly appreciate that. Others feel free to share however you'd like.
I'm Lydia. I'm representing Carleton College. I just finished up a summer internship with a nonprofit in the town where my college is. So I'm feeling inspired by like knowing a little bit more about other work that other nonprofits are doing around food insecurity in town, and like how going into this fall semester, like my chapter of food recovery is going to be able to like support them in their work and work together throughout the year.
That sounds awesome. And I totally agree. It's so fun to connect with other groups that are doing similar kinds of work. And I feel like with food recovery, there's so much overlap with, you know, the missions of other organizations. So that's really awesome that you have the opportunity to do that.
Hi, so I'm Christian. I'm from the Illinois Institute of Technology chapter. We're a new chapter that just got approved by our school like a couple weeks ago. But one thing that's definitely inspiring for me is my executive board, just all of us kind of coming together, really trying to work really hard to get ourselves running again so we can start recovering food. All of us are third years, all of us have pretty busy schedules, but we're still pushing forward, making sure that we're doing the best that we can to get everything running here.
Totally. I feel like having friends in this is always such a, you know, wonderful thing to keep you going and to keep everybody kind of on track. And I feel like even working, you know, with my colleagues at FRN, I feel inspired by all of them every day and like their passion and their drive and their motivation. So it's like we feed off of each other's energy. So that's a really good one. Did anyone else feel called to share what's inspiring them right now? Okay, cool. Well, I'll go ahead and then move us into our discussion. If anything else comes to mind later on, feel free to just pop it into the chat. Great. So I am now going to take this opportunity to start to split up our group into different breakout rooms, just to give folks a chance to, you know, meet one another, like I mentioned before. When I assign you into a breakout group, you all will have 5 minutes to just introduce yourselves. I know you've all, you know, introduced yourselves in the chat, but feel free to, you know, unmute yourselves and reconnect there. And then I would love for each person in the breakout room to share one thing that you're excited about this semester. And that could definitely be FRN related if it's something to do with your chapter or the work that you're planning for the semester. But even if it's not, that's totally fine too. If you're just here because you're looking for ideas and inspiration, it's a great place to be. So you can definitely share something unrelated to FRN if that speaks to you more. So I'll give you all about 5 minutes in the breakout rooms. If you're feeling like we've all shared and introduced ourselves, you should be able to come back into this main room at any time. But at 5 minutes or at 4 minutes, you'll get a 60-second reminder from me that you have 1 minute left. And then I'll bring everybody back into this main room so we can all reconnect there. Welcome back, everyone. I would love to hear some highlights. If anybody cares to share, you know, one thing that they're excited about this semester, please feel free to share with the group.
My group talked about how we're gonna like recruit new volunteers and members this year, so that was exciting.
Oh, cool. Any interesting tips or thoughts on how you're gonna go forward with the recruitment?
A bunch of us had Carrie, you should go ahead.
Oh, sorry about that. One thing that my organization did is we had what we call Eastern Eagle Fest, which is where all the clubs get together, that kind of thing. We actually had over 2 pages, like line paper, double-sided, 2 pages of emails that we got from people in a 3-hour event. And one thing we really had to do was kind of like be a little like outgoing and like make eye contact with people and kind of draw people in. So definitely being like outgoing, friendly, and just doing that kind of thing definitely did help us.
Cool, that's awesome. Anyone else have like a highlight that they wanted to share? Great, no worries. I will move us into the next portion of our discussion here. So this time, again, we'll have 5 more minutes to just introduce ourselves when we get into the breakout rooms. And then I'll bring you back so we can reconvene. But this time I'd love for you to share one challenge that you think your chapter might face this semester. I think that it'll be nice to, try and hear from other folks what they might be dealing with. It might be similar to, a challenge that you anticipate facing. And then we'll come back in and we'll talk as a group about some of the top challenges together. And we'll see if anybody has, some tips or advice that they can share based on their own experience. So I'll go ahead and reassign to new breakout rooms. I think it should be new breakout rooms. We'll go ahead and go for it. I feel like that was a quick 5 minutes. So hopefully you all were able to have some good dialogue going. Are there any challenges that you found particularly resonated with your group or as an individual? If so, please feel free to share.
So my chapter's challenge is, because we're a new chapter, we're kind of struggling with receiving money from the school, especially to pay for stuff like catering at a general body meeting that we're planning. Thankfully, Allison actually told me about the FRN grants, which I'm not sure if it's something that our exec board has looked into, but it's definitely something that I'll bring up and would definitely help us a lot.
Yes, it's so awesome. I'm so glad that that came up and glad that people know about the grant application. That was definitely something I will mention once we get into some last minute like housekeeping things before we end our meeting today. But in case folks don't know, FRN National, we do provide up to $100 per semester for all of our chapters. And now this year we have a new policy. If your chapter is also operating within one of the 10 target states where we know that there are high levels of food insecurity and high levels of surplus food, you have an additional $25 available to you. And if you're serving a community that has food insecurity rates of 20% or higher, another $25 added onto that. So all of this is laid out in our grant application, which is available on our website. And we'll definitely, mention that in our email follow-up to you all with the link to the grant application if you haven't seen it. But I definitely recommend that you take advantage of that. It's great if your chapter doesn't have funding from your school. Just like you mentioned, sometimes you're not recognized as an official chapter on your campus or something of that nature, and there's just no budget for them to, provide to you. And we want to make sure that all of you can still be supported and, even if it's a small financial capacity to continue to do the great work that you're doing. So you can purchase supplies for food recoveries. You can host volunteer appreciation events with funds from FRN. So we'll be sure to send that link out to everyone so that you have it and you can review it. But that's awesome. I love that somebody recommended that to you. Any other challenges that folks want to bring to the group here?
Our group just talked about like communication, both with like the dining halls and the like community partners where we're delivering food. And just how that can be challenging, especially with like new leaders. Or like who haven't been with the chapter long.
Yeah, I think that's also a really big challenge sometimes to get in touch with the dining service provider. For any of our more seasoned chapter leaders, do you have any thoughts or tips to share on how you've reconnected with your dining service providers this year, especially coming out of the pandemic? I know probably a lot of you haven't been able to touch base with your dining providers for a while. So if you have any thoughts to share, please do.
Something that we talked about in our group related to that is it'll really depend on your university probably, but like finding the manager that a lot of the time will work over all of those other individual managers can be like the most important person to talk to. So I think Allison was saying that it's like she works with the director of sustainability at our school, whereas we at Ohio State work with like the manager, the director of Ohio State Dining Services.
I love that. Going to the most powerful person possible. That's a great tip. Anyone else have thoughts on reconnecting with dining service providers or connecting with them for the first time?
I guess for my chapter, it's been a lot easier for us to go in person. We waited like 2 months for an email response from Einstein's, who we partner with, last summer. And that's why we reach out like at the end of each school year for the next school year, because sometimes it's just so hard to get a response. So it was a lot easier once we all got back on campus to go in person and ask like the general manager at that particular location. And she was much easier to communicate with. So that would probably be my advice.
I think that's another great tip. I feel like sometimes it's easy to ignore an email, but when you meet somebody face to face, it's harder to dismiss. So that's a great option. And I think it even helps to, go and share in person, what you're working on, why you're passionate about this, why this matters. And I think that kind of face-to-face conversation can really have a different kind of impact than just sending an email. So that's awesome. Well, I know I want to get you all out of here in just a couple minutes. So thank you so much for participating in the discussion today. I'm going to go ahead and just transition into a couple of last minute, housekeeping options, reminders for all of you as chapter leaders. So I definitely want to mention first and foremost to fill out your official chapter agreement if you have not already. We only need one representative from your chapter to sign the OCA, but within the OCA, there are a couple of forms that you should collaborate with your other fellow volunteers to complete. So one being the membership form, which is just our way of ensuring we understand everyone who's in our network and that we can communicate, updates about different events that FRN might be hosting or initiatives that we have going on directly with all of our volunteers. And that just saves, chapter leaders some time in trying to, forward emails from FRN National, keeping your members up to date. If you send us the list of your volunteers, we'll make sure that they're also receiving pertinent emails from us. And of course, people will have the option to opt out of those at any time if they want to. But that's a nice way to kick off the semester. Within the OCA, if you are doing food recovery, I just want to send a quick reminder to everyone to review our food safety training and guidelines. Those are located on our website. We have a totally revamped student resources page. So there's new resources there for you all. It should be a little bit easier to navigate than in the past. And I do want to just reiterate that we have eliminated the use of the portal, which was a tool that FRN National offered in years past to house resources. And that's just because we want to make the resources as accessible as possible to every member of our network, and not just some chapter leaders have access to the portal because it's password protected and all of that. So all of the resources are out there on our website for you all to use and for your fellow volunteers to use. So don't start looking for the portal. We just won't be posting things there any longer. We talked about the updated grant application. So I'll just mention that again, we are doing a series of chapter calls this year, and some of them are going to be topic focused because of information that we know you all have provided to us about common challenges that you've faced in the past. So our next call, I believe, will be on the 17th. We'll send a reminder with a link to register for that call, but it'll be all about volunteer recruitment and appreciation events. So if that's something that that your chapter is maybe struggling with, or you just want to go and hear some new ideas about how you might go about recruiting new members or celebrating the members that are currently in your network, I'd encourage you to join that conversation. And then we'll continue to share more calls as they come up, but we'll definitely host a few more this fall, and we'll come back in the spring with more topics to cover. And again, you don't have to be doing food recovery this year to be an active chapter in our network. There are other ways that you can activate and participate. A lot of those are outlined in the official chapter agreement. So when you sign it, go through and see what speaks to you and what your chapter is capable of. I know some folks might still be virtual, so there's plenty of opportunity to still engage with us, even in a virtual capacity. And then the last thing I want to just note is that we are sending out chapter care packages throughout September. So if you have not shared your mailing address with us yet, please do. In the follow-up email, we'll send out a link for you to fill out your mailing address for us, and we'll be sure to send a package your way if it hasn't arrived already. So thank you all so much for joining the conversation. I really appreciate your time, and look forward to talking with you all again soon. And it's just great to see everyone. So I hope you enjoy the rest of the day and have a really nice long weekend, and we'll talk again soon.